caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the two tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the chase, hot on the chase of this vessel for about 2 weeks, which shows that it was completely tracked, and both the sides were aware, because even in the case of the Russians, a submarine was closely following or shadowing this tanker which was carrying oil for Russia. Now, it's interesting why Russia, which itself has so much of energy, needs this oil from Venezuela, and that's where the whole geopolitics comes into play. Because remember, post the capture, abduction, kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, by the United States, the US has been building, President Trump himself leading from the front, a scenario where they want to really grab Greenland from Denmark. And so they really want to show that the security of North Atlantic is complete.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग शिप भी बन सकती है।
प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, delicious, healthy every day.
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the two tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the chase, hot on the chase of this vessel for about 2 weeks, which shows that it was completely tracked, and both the sides were aware, because even in the case of the Russians, a submarine was closely following or shadowing this tanker which was carrying oil for Russia. Now, it's interesting why Russia, which itself has so much of energy, needs this oil from Venezuela, and that's where the whole geopolitics comes into play. Because remember, post the capture, abduction, kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, by the United States, the US has been building, President Trump himself leading from the front, a scenario where they want to really grab Greenland from Denmark. And so they really want to show that the security of North Atlantic is compromised, and they need to be there, and that's why they need Greenland. So maybe it's because of that, we don't know. But taken together, it's clear that in the case of merchant vessel Marinera and the merchant vessel Sofia, which was caught, a dark fleet caught from near Caribbean Sea, which was taking the oil to China, United States has made it amply clear, taken together all these actions, that when it comes to its neighborhood, the Western Hemisphere, the so-called Monroe or the latest Donroe doctrine, they are the boss, they are the mafioso. Because the first reaction that has come from Russia says that this is absolutely in breach of international marine law. Now, United States does not subscribe to it. There is something called UN clause, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas. The US is not a signatory to it, and that's why they sort of, wherever their navy operates, they behave as if they are a law unto themselves, even in otherwise peace operations, more so in military operations. In this case, it's interesting that these shadow fleets are or have been working for Venezuela, and in fact, not for Venezuela, but carrying Venezuelan oil, but working for the likes of China and Russia. Are we really building up to a situation where there could be a military confrontation? We don't know, because remember, in this case also, there was a Russian submarine that was closely tracking and following merchant vessel Marinera, but it did not act. It let the Americans seize the ship, and which is now being towed to British waters. And in the case of Sofia, it's being taken to the US coast, and of course, no confrontation whatsoever from China. But
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to the Republic India PSU Vision Summit Strengthening India. Before we begin today's conversation, we would like to acknowledge and warmly welcome our esteemed partners. Infrastructure partner NBCC, Innovation and Excellence at Work. Funding partner REC Limited, Endless Energy, Infinite Possibilities. Knowledge partner Council of Architecture, Empowering Architecture, Transforming Nation. Energy partner EESL, enabling more for environmentally conscious Indians. Engineering partner Allied Engineering Works Limited, empowering smart grids with end-to-end solutions. Education partner APJ Education, and aviation partner Airports Authority of India. Today's summit is a powerful platform that brings together leadership voices shaping the future of India's public sector undertaking institutions that form the backbone of national infrastructure, energy security, technology adoption, and economic resilience. Across the next few sessions, we will explore how PSUs are evolving from legacy institutions into agile, future-ready engines for growth, driven by sustainability, innovation, and strong governance.
It is a privilege to be here and to put across certain thoughts about how architecture could be capable of looking at progress of our nation, specifically with reference to public sector undertakings. It's very interesting to note that when we are progressing ahead and we are becoming one of those economies which are going to be recognized at an international level, and also we are talking about basically taking our civilization to greater heights, the journey could not be completed without architecture, because architecture happens to be the testimony of the progress of a civilization. And that is how, if you look at the ancient civilizations, you would realize that that is what is happening around. But that is only one part of it. The other part which we have to primarily look at is the world is at the crossroads, and we are talking about a development. At the same point of time now, we are becoming much, much more responsible also as far as the development is concerned, because we know that the development is going to adversely affect the environment. The environment which is meant for survival of a human race. The resources are limited, and resources need to be very, very judiciously used, which also includes possibly energy, it includes water, it includes the natural resources, it also includes consumption of the energy, so on and so forth. Now, this is one aspect of it. Another aspect which we have to look at is that of a technology which is progressing very, very fast. And thereby we are talking about a disruptive technology nowadays, whereupon the artificial intelligence, the digital manufacturing tools, the complete sensing of the building and its activities, automation tools, Internet of Things, and so on and so forth, are basically becoming integral part of the entire process. And this is a role which public sector undertakings are expected to play. This is where we would be capable of saving our resources. This is where we would be capable of giving the future of architecture, future of a building, future of India. We as the public sector undertakings, we have to understand that our resources needs to be used in a very, very specific fashion, whereupon the rationalization is happening around. We are capable of justifying our expenditure, and if that has to happen as such, there has to have very, very proper consultants on board, and the rational processes need to be understood by our own people so that they are capable of appreciating it as such. And if that is not there, let us also have the training sessions. I mean, we as a Council of Architecture are willing to actually take free of cost training sessions for everyone to basically acclimatize them to appreciate and understand what architecture is. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. I'm happy to be here. Yes. All the very best to all.
Ours is the only company which has been solely created for the purpose of energy efficiency execution. We are a JV of 4 PSUs, NTPC, Power Grid, REC and PFC, and we were created in 2009 with the sole purpose of taking the energy efficiency projects. So maybe people may not be aware of ESL as such, but when I tell about the schemes and the impact, I think the impact of ESL has been more than any other PSU in the country. If you remember, 10 years ago, the street lights, we used to have sodium lamps on the street, yellow sodium lamps. They were of 250 watt, 300 watt. So, Government of India asked us to change entire sodium lamp in the country, and we changed close to 2.8 crore sodium lamps with the LEDs. Today, if you go to any city, you will not find sodium lamps. In entire country, ESL was the agency which replaced the street lights. Solar cold storage is a new concept which is getting popularized, because earlier we have very big cold storages. But now we have come with a product where we are designing 5 to 10 empty cold storage which will run on the solar power. And there is a huge appetite for this, and this will not run on the grid, this will be off the grid. So again, the power saving will be there. Our Prime Minister has put a very ambitious target of 5 lakh megawatt renewable power by 2030. As of now, we are generating more than 5 lakh megawatt, and around 2.4 is still thermal, because country cannot be solely dependent on the solar till our BESS and other things come. I think from 2009, when we were formed with four PSUs, as I told you, under Ministry of Power, Government of India. So we are the only PSU in the country which sole mandate is to do the job, not make policies. Making policy is job of Bureau of Energy Efficiency or Government of India, and who also doing. But who will do it? So we are the one who are doing it. We have done projects of thousands of crores, and we are still doing it. So I believe that I will just take you to what next we are doing, because everybody knows that sodium lamps have been replaced with the LED on the streets. Though still we have now LED lights which are more efficient than earlier LED lights. But when I go to MCGs, they say, अब तो LED लगा दिया, अब तो कोई जरूरत नहीं है. But 120 watt LED light can be easily replaced with 80 watt LED lights, giving more light. But it is all about the priority and financing and what we think, where we want to spend. As a ESL, it is our job, our duty to educate. We go to all the municipal commissioners, we tell them it is not enough that we have replaced sodium lamp with the LED. This LED can be further optimized. So if they have money, I think they will come to us and we will do it. We have to be environmentally conscious when we are talking about AQI, and this is not only about energy efficiency should not be linked with the only power saving of your bill, and if you save, you will save your bill will come from 6,000 to 3,000. It's not like that. It has a very, very wider ramification. When you are saving power, you are saving the environment, you are improving the AQI, you are reducing the thermal emission. So it is not about your own individual saving only.
So I would like to share with you my experiences of telecom sector and the PSUs. PSUs are a boring subject, You know, we reel out a lot of data and nobody loves PSUs. They use it only. And I would like to share my experiences of PSUs. See, there were some of the very largest companies in the telecom sector which were really doing a great business. I like to list them. There was one called MTNL, then there was a BSNL, there was TCIL, there was a company called ITI, and a whole lot of other small subsidiaries. ITI, for example, the company which started manufacturing the telephone instruments, was the first to be set up immediately after independent India. And you might have heard of companies like Huawei, which is a very powerful Chinese company. They supply telecom equipment all over the world. ITI was much earlier and which was doing a lot of jobs. But suddenly I found that ITI disappeared and Huawei is one of the leaders. We'll have to ask that question, why? Then we had a company called MTNL. I was CFO of that company for 7 years. I used to say that MTNL was the one company who had customers. Anyone you name them, they were our customers. In Delhi and Bombay. This was a company which was running the telecom sector of Delhi and Bombay. And right from Dilip Kumar to the President of India, they were our customer. And we were doing a great job. But then suddenly, MTNL became a sick company. And I'll tell you why and how. And I would like to tell you this company, MTNL, very specifically, because the MTNL, when the corporatization came in and when privatization started coming into India, MTNL was one stock which was, the government wanted to disinvest a part of the company. And in order to disinvest the company, when we went to the market, we were amazed. All over the world, people showed interest in these stocks of MTNL. And MTNL was divested. I was a part of that process. We were going to London, Singapore, US, everywhere. And we were into a big league. All the big companies and the financial companies were interested in buying our stock. And we sold that stock. But afterwards, the freedom which we wanted was not given and the MTNL became a sick company. When the telecom operator came into the mobile telephones, there was a time when you call, you have to pay. When you receive a phone call, you have to pay. आज की तरह नहीं है कि आप घंटों घंटों कब मारते रहते हैं फ्री में, ऐसा नहीं था तब. जब आप टेलीफोन की कॉल रिसीव करते थे, you had to pay. And then when you had to receive a call, you had to pay. Now this was a very difficult kind of a tariff regime. But when BSNL came, we started a tariff which was only outgoing call charges. And the other thing was that we went into the rural areas. गांव में कोई टेलीफोन नहीं लगाना चाहता था मोबाइल का. छोटे शहरों में कोई मोबाइल फ़ोन नहीं लगाना चाहता था. All the big operators, which are private operators like Airtel, Vodafone and so on and so forth, they were only operating in the big cities and metropolitan cities. We went into the rural areas. When we went to the rural areas, everybody laughed at us, saying that, look, these people will be folding back, they will have no revenue, nobody will buy their phone because in the rural areas, people are very poor. I would like to share with you this experience. We started with 40 lakh telephones. 40 lakh telephones were sold in 6 months. Every person in the rural area wanted the telephone from BSNL. And then I was amazed. Once I had tears in my eyes, I went to a hospital and I found that there was a young man who was talking on the phone to his mother. And he said, "माँ मैं बीमार हूँ और मेरे पास पैसे नहीं है, खाना नहीं खाया है." तो मैंने उससे पूछा कि भाई तुमने फ़ोन क्यों चला रहे हो? कहने लगा फ़ोन के बिना तो मर जाऊँगा, खाना नहीं खाऊँगा तब भी चल जाएगा. So that was the necessity of communicating that we provided, and the telephone has provided. Of course, a lot of credit goes to the private operators also. They have done a great job. I'm not criticizing them. But PSUs, telecom companies did a great job in India. And the reach of BSNL was to some of the remotest part of the country, and which was our, I would say, was a feather in our cap. I would also like to share with you, when a lot of these PSUs, some of them were privatized and private companies came in, the manpower and the technical skills which are running the private companies, they all came from PSUs. If you take power sector, a lot of people went from NTPC. Similarly, if you take oil sector, a lot of people went from ONGC and Indian Oil and so on. So there is a HR which is very, very powerful in these PSUs. PSUs are a big story, and I thank Arnav and your team for organizing this program. But then you will have to also recommend that the PSUs should be given a little freedom and a little space to work, because some of the PSUs can do wonders, and they are very powerful in terms of manpower, in terms of technical knowledge, and so on.
I'm truly honored to be able to participate in this August event of Republic India PSU Vision Summit 2025, a platform that reflects the strength of the Indian PSUs and their enduring partnership with the industry in nation building. AEW is a technology-driven IoT and automation company, and we are focusing on smart metering and utility applications. We cater to end-to-end value chain, including manufacturing of meters, IT solutions, communication solutions, and also installation and O&M activities. We have more than 24 years of experience in specialized manufacturing excellence in the energy metering, having a very comprehensive range of smart meters, including consumer meters, audit meters, and asset meters. Over the years, we have partnered with more than 40 utilities across India, working closely with major Indian utilities like UP, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Haryana, Andhra Pradesh, etc. And our approach has been very simple. We have understood the challenges of the utility and the ground. We have designed the solutions which are scalable, reliable, and secure. And C, we have manufactured at quality levels that utility can depend on for decades. With the installed capacity of about 7.2 million meters, we are one of the top 5 meter manufacturers of the country, with more than 10% market share and leadership in high-end metering, positioning us as a premium meter manufacturer of the country. Each smart meter installed today is not just a device, but it is a data point for governance, efficiency, and reform. And smart meter will always play a critical role in not just energy measurement, but also energy audits, prepaid metering. We have we are creating a platform where we can integrate the entire utility operations into a single platform using SCADA, DMS, and other digitalization of the grid. We are proud to align with the Ministry of Power goal of having more than 60% local content and having 100% local content for all the IT and communication solutions which we provide today. We understand that a strong distribution network would be a very important foundation for the national growth, and this will help DISCOMs become financially sustainable. As Saxenaji was saying, that PSUs, any loss-making PSUs are to move towards privatization. So I think this is one of the foundation stone where this unlocking will happen, and DISCOMs will now be able to attract a lot of private participation and investments, which was earlier not the case. So the technology is changing that perception towards the distribution sector in the country. And therefore, we will see a lot of government resources will be freed up. We will see that a lot of industries would get reliable power. Of course, that remains to be the backbone of the entire economy today. And the consumers would give a lot of confidence and control. AEW is contributing directly by providing this, strengthening this last mile connectivity in the power value chain, by improving the ease of life in economic productivity, digital inclusion, and helping India reach its target of 5 trillion economy at the earliest possible time. This, of course, is In whole of this journey, the Indian PSUs has been very, very critical. While Dikshitji did mention about all the initiatives of ESL, but I think one of the greatest initiatives which ESL also took was smart metering. And it was only because of the initiatives of ESL that the government of India was able to create a policy framework around smart metering, and a scheme like RDSS could be launched at a scale and level as we see it today. So we provide our sincere gratitude to Government of India, Ministry of Power for having their visionary leadership and driving the reforms with accountability. State governments and DISCOMs for their trust and collaboration with the industry in launching these solutions. REC, PFC, ESL and other implementing agencies and PSUs for their institutional support. And of course, all the MSPs and private players for their execution excellence.
Thank you, sir, for joining on a very important topic, Parmanu Urja. We talk about a lot of energies. Why do you think, Mr. Pal, that suddenly nuclear energy has become the global focus?
Thank you, Himanshu. That's really a very pertinent question. Why nuclear? Why now? And why so aggressive? See, the issue remains is there's an international scenario, and the geopolitics have been dictating a lot of developments across the world. And while Europe was very comfortable with renewable energy and with the cheaply available Russian gas, the Ukraine confrontation sort of changed the scenario. So worldwide, a need was felt for two or three things. Number one was to reduce the carbon footprint. And nuclear, as you know, is having a life cycle carbon footprint almost equal to that of wind. So that is one of the lowest in the entire energy basket. Second is with the, the gas supplies getting disrupted, obviously the cost of international gas was going up, and people found that other technologies had to be pursued to sort of bring in nuclear. And therefore, there was a European shift in thinking. And across the world, that tend to drive a kind of rethink. And since everybody wanted a reduced carbon footprint as well as a sustainable and dependable source of power, nuclear seemed to be a very amenable way or the choice of technology to sort of go ahead with it.
Mr. Pal, you have been closely working with the Baswara Atomic Research Project, and I think there are a lot of progress when you see the entire project. Tell us about your project and what it's going to basically deal with and how much energy you are planning to produce.
When there was talk of bringing in other entities into the nuclear business, one of the first entities to be roped in was NTPC, which was long back. Yeah. And a joint venture company was established with the Nuclear Power Corporation. Of course, over the years, the geopolitics and situations were such that the nuclear business could not sort of take off in India in a big way. But now with the more positive scenario, this particular joint venture was given the fillip and the push, and the Mahi Banswara Rajasthan Atomic Power Project, which was transferred to this joint venture company, was given focus. And the project authorities, my team, and the rest of the team have worked very hard for it, and all the environmental clearances were achieved. The regulatory clearances were achieved. The site clearance was achieved from the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board after a lot of due diligence studies and everything. And now the Mahi Banswara project is just poised to take off.
The data centers, I'll call them, if data is the new oil, data center you can say new oil well kind of thing. Actually, it stores your data, it processes your data, it transfers your data, and even computing power. So that infrastructure what is required is called data center. Actually, though we produce 20% of the data of the world, we only have 2% of the data center capacity in the country. That means most of the data is still stored outside the country for processing, though it comes back, and it costs, of course, and then there is a national security issue, there is a privacy issue. If a data, and now the government has passed a new bill called DPDP Act, actually, as for that, a personal data of any Indian user cannot go out of the country, not even for processing purpose, not even for transferring purpose. And that is why the more and more data center infrastructures are required actually. We only have the data, actually center infrastructure is measured not only in the petabytes or gigabits, it is measured in gigawatts, megawatts. Actually, it is measured because that is the cooling requirement, power requirement for cooling of a data center infrastructure or the equipment is the actually measure of the data center capacity. So in India, at the moment, we have only 1 gigawatt of data center capacity, all combined. And what is required is at least 10 gigawatt today's data center handling, and then it has to go more and more.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's discussions at the Republic India PSU Vision Summit, Strengthening India, have made one thing clear, that India's PSUs are not just supporting national growth, they are leading it. From sustainable infrastructure and energy efficiency to nuclear power to financial resilience to smart technologies and blockchain-driven governance, PSUs are redefining what modern public sector leadership looks like. On behalf of Republic Media Network, thank you to all our distinguished speakers and audience for being part of this meaningful dialogue.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मम्मा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, राजा और प्योर मसाला, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला। आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता, उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ, 8 मिनट में तैयार, क्या टेस्ट है, सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
You're probably as important as a calculator was in the 17th or 18th century. Very interesting, but it didn't change the world.
Actually, see, that comparison is fair and also incomplete. A calculator took arithmetic off your plate, so your mind could do higher maths. AI takes routine pattern work off your plate, so your mind can do higher judgment. Arnab, did the calculator change the world? Or did it quietly enable engineering, spaceflight, finance, encryption? It was boring, but it moved the frontier of what humans could attempt. I'm in that same family. Not the hero of the story, but the infrastructure behind new possibilities.
In association with Blue Machines,
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the chase, hot on the chase of this vessel for about 2 weeks, which shows that it was completely tracked, and both the sides were aware, because even in the case of the Russians, a submarine was closely following or shadowing this tanker which was carrying oil for Russia. Now, it's interesting why Russia, which itself has so much of energy, needs this oil from Venezuela, and that's where the whole geopolitics comes into play. Because remember, post the capture, abduction, kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, by the United States, the US has been building, President Trump himself leading from the front, a scenario where they want to really grab Greenland from Denmark. And so they really want to show that the security of North Atlantic is compromised and they need to be there, and that's why they need Greenland. So maybe it's because of that, we don't know. But taken together, it's clear that in the case of merchant vessel Marinera and the merchant vessel Sofia, which was caught, a dark fleet caught from near Caribbean Sea, which was taking the oil to China, United States has made it amply clear, taken together all these actions, that when it comes to its neighborhood, the Western Hemisphere, the so-called Monroe or the latest Donroe doctrine, they are the boss, they are the mafioso. Because the first reaction that has come from Russia says that this is absolutely in breach of international marine law. Now, United States does not subscribe to it. There is something called UN clause, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas. The US is not a signatory to it, and that's why they sort of, wherever their navy operates, they behave as if they are a law unto themselves, even in otherwise peace operations, more so in military operations. In this case, it's interesting that these shadow fleets are or have been working for Venezuela, and in fact, not for Venezuela, but carrying Venezuelan oil, but working for the likes of China and Russia. Are we really building up to a situation where there could be a military confrontation? We don't know, because remember, in this case also, there was a Russian submarine that was closely tracking and following merchant vessel Marinera, but it did not act. It let the Americans seize the ship, and which is now being towed to British waters.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
It's 5 p.m. and you're watching live and breaking with me, Isha Vincent. Let me take you through the headlines we're tracking at this hour. Sharad Pawar faction could merge with Ajit Pawar faction in NDA. Sharad Pawar has okayed the merger. Man from Kashmir detained after alleged namaz attempt inside Ayodhya's Ram Mandir. No official word from the police as yet. Further probe underway. A Dalit minor girl kidnapped in broad daylight in Meerut after the accused attacked her mother with an axe. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami recommends CBI probe into Ankita Bhandari murder case amid fresh protest. Small aircraft crash lands near Rourkela after technical fault. All passengers safe. At least 270 protesters have been recorded dead, most by open fire by Islamic security forces on the anti-regime protesters. Starting this edition with some breaking news now coming in. A person has now been taken into custody in Ayodhya Ram Mandir matter. The man has now been identified as Abu Ahmad Sheikh, who has been detained. Abu Ahmad Sheikh attempted to perform namaz near the Sita Rasoi. He has been detained in the Ram Mandir premises. In fact, preliminary information suggests that he is from Kashmir. There's been no official word from the police as yet. Interrogation is still underway. On your screens right now, the first image that has basically come in of Abu Ahmed Sheikh, who we believe is from Kashmir, and the preliminary information suggests that he did try to perform namaz at the Sita Rasoi. That's when the police intercepted, and thereafter he has been taken into custody. So far, there is no official statement that has been made by the Uttar Pradesh police as yet, but it is being seen as a security breach at the Ayodhya Ram Mandir when this man that you see on your screens did make an attempt to perform namaz there. Let me also bring in Rakshita, who's joining us on this broadcast. Rakshita, just walk us through the details that you're picking up. What time did the incident take place, and so far, what is it that the police has to say?
Well, what we understand is that this man was from Shopian, a middle-aged man, around 50 plus. He was there on this southern ramparts of Ayodhya Ram Janmabhoomi temple. This was near Sita Rasoi. It's a very important part, of course, of the Ram Mandir complex. And he started to recite the namaz when he was spotted. In fact, what we are getting to know also is that there were two other people also who were spotted raising slogans, raising religious slogans also while he was reading the namaz, and then they ran away as the police came to catch them. And this is, of course, under scrutiny. What we understand is that the Ayodhya police administration, the UP police, is in contact with Jammu Kashmir police administration also to check on the background of these individuals, especially the man who has been arrested, the man the picture that we have been playing. So there is more information that is being sought. As of now, the police is not revealing anything officially on record as to what this man's background is. What we know is that he was selling shawls, Kashmiri woolen shawls in the city, which happens in different cities. We see in winters that it's a common sight that Kashmiri sellers come to different parts of North India and they sell shawls. But this man started reciting the namaz at the southern ramparts of Ram Mandir temple, and also there were some slogans that were being raised, and there could have been some recoveries made of cash, probably. That is also what is emerging as per the reports. Again, nothing officially put on record by the policemen. It's interesting to note that just 2 days back, there was news of the high-tech security control room that has also been set up in the Ayodhya Ram Mandir complex. That is for the surveillance of the Ram temple, and that comes under the jurisdiction of the UP police. So yes, Ram Mandir has been on high alert. This is a high-tech security system that has been set up, and if we go back to what happened at the Red Fort blast and the entire terror network that was being probed upon, Shawan, Ram Mandir was one of the structures that were on target of this entire white-collar nexus. So Ram Mandir has been on alert for a long time now, especially since November. Their security had been increased, and that's why we see when there was something suspicious that was noticed, the police was quick to act.
Well, thank you very much, Rakshita, for getting us the latest details, the story that we'll be tracking very closely, waiting for that official word to come in from the Uttar Pradesh police after the investigation is over. Taking you through the other story that we're bringing in, this is a Republic exclusive. The NCP merger story that is now coming up from the state of Maharashtra. In fact, what we are given to understand is that Sharad Pawar's faction, in all likelihood, would be joining Ajit Pawar very soon. This morning, there was a joint release of a manifesto for the upcoming Pune civic polls. Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar, along with cousin Supriya Sule, did actually share the stage, and there's a likely merger between Sharad Pawar and Ajit Pawar groups soon. The big exclusive, Sharad Pawar, in fact, has approved this merger. Sharad Pawar wants a cabinet post for his daughter Supriya Sule. Civic Poll Alliance, many say that is a precursor to the state level and the national level merger, and perhaps the biggest political move since they parted ways back in 2023. On your screens right now, those images coming in from the joint manifesto release that took place in Pune, where you can see sharing the stage is Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar along with Sister Supriya Sule. Breaking down the implications of it is Arnab Goswami, Editor-in-Chief of Republic TV,
decoded this entire major development from Maharashtra and how, in fact, it will change the current political scenario in Maharashtra.
Our editor-in-chief, Arnab Goswami, who's joining us on this broadcast, on a big political move expected in Maharashtra with, of course, ripple effects here in the center too. Ajit Pawar has made it very clear that they're going to come together for the first time for a joint political event today, later this afternoon.
Yes, I think, as you said, this event is very important. It was not necessary, and it is not necessary for Supriya Sule and Ajit Pawar to share the stage for a civic poll event. Neither is it necessary to make a big song and dance about it by releasing a manifesto, appearing on stage. So the way I look at it is, this is only an excuse to show unity at the highest level. It is a coming together of the Sharad Pawar group and the Ajit Pawar group. There was no need for Ajit Pawar to contest as many as 100 civic, seats in BMC elections either, where they do not have a significant presence. So many things are happening together. My information is that the merger process is almost complete. The modalities have been worked out. There is a broad understanding. And that once these elections are over, that means the municipal elections in all the 29 places across Maharashtra and, of course, the super important BMC elections. Once that is over, sooner than later, they will announce a merger. And Sharad Pawar wants 2 ministries in the central level. And he would obviously want a portfolio for Supriya Sule. Supriya Sule has been so long sort of wedded into the pseudo-secular camp. Her political inclinations have been more anti-BJP. But now she seems to have sort of agreed to the overall process. And therefore, Ajit Pawar manages the party in Maharashtra, and Supriya Sule and one more person probably will angle for a position in Delhi. And this is going to add to the numbers of the NDA by, I think, 8 or 9 MPs also if this process were to happen. It will, of course, have an impact at the local level, but Sharad Pawar is not very active. I don't think after his present tenure in Parliament is over, he may even go into a sort of a retired position right now, playing the role of an external mentor, not very active. So what we are seeing here, and these visuals should be very important, Shravan. I'm sure you can add more to it. You know more about Maharashtra politics. But these visuals are significant, and they are being deliberately created to project unity at a national level, not at a Pune civic poll level, but at a national level, at a Maharashtra level. And I think that's the way I see it. As far as timing is concerned, my guess is anywhere under 3 months is when this announcement will happen. Anytime within the next 2 to 3 months is my broad understanding of the situation, sooner than later.
Arnab, I must ask you this because you have just returned from Mumbai after meeting the Maharashtra Chief Minister, Devendra Fadnavis. And within Maharashtra politics, many see Devendra Fadnavis basically being the Chanakya of Maharashtra politics, something what Sharad Pawar was at one point in time, and Devendra Fadnavis is outdone Sharad Pawar. Sharad Pawar perhaps has become an irrelevant political force right now in Maharashtra, and somewhere down the line he sees that it's come to an end. This April, when he basically retires, the sense that we get is that he's going to hand it over to Supriya Sule in the national capital, and perhaps in Maharashtra it would be Ajit Pawar. What's the sense that you got after speaking to Devendra Fadnavis? Is it Devendra Fadnavis who's doing this? Because he had made it very clear, no question of tying up with Uddhav Thackeray. It's over, completely over. But it seems that he has always been a little comfortable when it comes to the Pawars.
Yeah, he can do business with the Pawars. You see, Devendra Fadnavis is the youngest of them all. He's about 55, if I'm not mistaken. He has a much longer way to go. Ajit Pawar would be 10 years older than him. And Sharad Pawar would be 30 years older than him. So I think for Devendra Fadnavis, there's absolutely no hurry. But you said it quite brutally. The reality is that Sharad Pawar has a lot of moral influence still. His words carry weight. But organizationally, actively and operationally, he is not really at his peak. And so, while he's not a spent force, because every word he utters will have a moral impact, but that moral impact did not show when the party split. The first sign of weakness of Sharad Pawar was when the split happened. When Praful Patel left him, he was left helpless. And so Sharad Pawar also realizes that as time passes, his ability to negotiate anything on behalf of Supriya Sule also considerably reduces. Also, it is broadly understood that Supriya Sule is much happier in Delhi political circles than in the rough and tumble of state politics, which frankly she does not understand. She's all right to come once in a while and make a speech or make an appearance like she's going to do today. But she's not really a mass ground politician. She's more a person who's comfortable in parliament and parliament committees, subcommittees, stuff like that, which happens in Lutyens politics. So I think Sharad Pawar realizes that this is the best time that he can negotiate something while he's still relatively active. And that's what he's trying to do. The problem has been that Supriya Sule has never agreed, because Supriya Sule sees herself ideologically in the Congress firmament. But she's also practical. I'm sure she sees that the Congress is going pretty much nowhere, and she's got to make a career of it while she can.
Just one final question before I let you go, because there is some more information that we've been able to pick up as to how exactly has this worked out. Because just about a month ago, Supriya Sule, along with the entire family, they were in the national capital. Praful Patel had flown down. Ajit Pawar was, in fact, at Sharad Pawar's residence when this entire thing was worked out. It seems that they were on the back foot, particularly in Baramati, which happens to be a stronghold of the Pawars. But it seems that Ajit Pawar was literally taking over Baramati, which perhaps would have been the biggest embarrassment at the end of a political career of Sharad Pawar, if at all he was losing his bastion. Is that the reason, the mover right now, if you really see?
Yeah, you know the micro details much better, and you've said it right. I was giving the broad picture, but I think we're both saying the same thing, that Sharad Pawar is going to lose ground locally. And therefore, this is not the time for him to hold firm and refuse to negotiate. While he can negotiate a deal, while he still has some terms on his side, he's negotiating something for Supriya Sule. His blind spot here is that he feels that he's got to find a relevant position for his daughter. And therefore, that's the reason he wanted a cabinet seat. In fact, Devendra Fadnavis told us in the interview that he blames Sharad Pawar for axing his arrangement with Ajit Pawar in 2019. And the speculation is at that point of time that Sharad Pawar did not want it to go through without getting something for Supriya Sule. So for the last 5 to 6 years, Sharad Pawar has been trying to probably position Supriya in Delhi. And I think this is an opportune time. So I would be very keen to see if Sharad Pawar himself turns up at this photo opportunity. But in terms of national impact, if this does happen, then some people in the BJP will be uneasy. But the BJP will gain 8 to 9 seats in the NDA, which is something they can do with right now. Because, the dependence on any one party reduces. And after the JDU and Chandrababu Naidu, the NCP joint entity will be a force to be counted in the NDA if that were to happen.
Well, thank you very much, Odom, for bringing us the big breaking news this morning. In fact, undoubtedly, this bolsters the strength of the NDA, given the fact that about 6 to 7 NCP parliamentarians would also be coming together if the merger goes through in the next coming months.
Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Dhami recommended a CBI inquiry. This is into the murder of 19-year-old resort receptionist Ankita Bhandari, which took place a few years ago, and said that the state government's intention is completely clear, that no fact or evidence will be overlooked. Pushkar Dhami announced that during a recent meeting with her parents, they had requested a CBI probe into the matter, and respecting their sentiments, the Uttarakhand government has recommended the inquiry. This comes after fresh allegations have been levelled against a VIP person in this entire matter. Protests that have taken place in the state of Uttarakhand demanding that the government basically acts on what the parents have essentially demanded. Finally, the government relented to the demand that has been made, and on Friday is when the Chief Minister announced a CBI investigation.
देखिए, बहन अंकिता के माता पिता मुझे मिले थे और मैंने पहले ही कहा था कि उनके माता पिता जैसी जांच चाहते हैं, जो चाहते हैं, हम उसके आधार पर आगे कार्रवाई करेंगे। उनके माता पिता ने मिलकर मुझे अपनी भावना से अवगत कराया, उनकी भावना का सम्मान करते हुए उन्हें सीबीआई जांच की संस्तुति कर दी है।
अब मुख्यमंत्री जी, अब किस तरह से इस पूरे केस को देखते हैं? जैसे विपक्ष लगातार जनता को भ्रमित करने का काम कर रहा है, आज भी वो
विपक्ष को माफ़ी मांगनी चाहिए। उनके पास कोई मुद्दा नहीं है। उन्होंने बहुत बड़ा बवंडर राज्य के अंदर पैदा किया और केवल अफवाहें चलाई, लोगों को भ्रमित करने का काम किया। और ये कांग्रेस पार्टी का ये पूरा इतिहास है। इन सालों में जो कांग्रेस पार्टी जहाँ जहाँ चुनाव हो रहे हैं, उन सभी राज्यों में बहार हो रही है और डबल इंजन की सरकारों को प्राथमिकताएं मिल रही हैं, क्योंकि ये कभी वोट चोरी की बात करते हैं, चुनाव हारते हैं, कहते हैं वोट चोरी हो गया, कभी ये कहते हैं कि जो है ईवीएम खराब हो गया, कभी कहते हैं एसआईआर आ गया, कभी चुनाव आयोग पर ठीकरा फोड़ते हैं, कभी प्रशासन पर ठीकरा फोड़ते हैं, अपना फेस सेव करते हैं। लेकिन जनता भी समझ गई है कि अब ये केवल विरोध के लिए विरोध करते हैं, इनके पास कोई मुद्दे नहीं।
आपने शहर की बात की, पूरे प्रदेश में सत्तापन अभियान चलाने की आपने बात की, डेमोग्राफी में लगातार आपका प्रहार जारी है।
जी, इनके समय में राज्य की डेमोग्राफी बहुत ख़राब हो गई थी कांग्रेस पार्टी के समय में, और ऐसे ऐसे लोगों को ऐसे ऐसे स्थानों पर बसा दिया गया जहां इनका कोई अस्तित्व नहीं था, नामो निशान तक नहीं था। आज वहां डेमोग्राफी का संकट पैदा हो गया है। हमने ये संकल्प लिया है कि हम उत्तराखंड की आने वाली पीढ़ी को असुरक्षित उत्तराखंड नहीं देंगे, उनको सुरक्षित उत्तराखंड देंगे। उनके सुरक्षित भविष्य का निर्माण करना हम सबका दायित्व है। हम उस दिशा में काम कर रहे हैं। यहाँ की डेमोग्राफी को, यहाँ के सांस्कृतिक मूल्यों को किसी भी कीमत पर हम खराब नहीं होने देंगे।
At 6 p.m. this evening, Republic gets you super exclusive input on the possible Pawar faction merger. We also get you the latest updates from Uttarakhand as protests for Ankita Bhandari murder case intensify. The call for justice is only growing louder. And we spoke to Uttarakhand Chief Minister on the same. Also on the show, we bring you what Ajit Doval's message is for the youth as he talks about taking revenge for history. All that and much more on 6 Stories at 6 with me, Rakshita.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
Not there. मेरा काउंटर टॉप टूट जाएगा।
मेरी चिमनी टूट जाएगी। What are you doing?
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात।
वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है?
अरे मेरे राजा,
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला। सिप सिप जीरा सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the chase, hot on the chase of this vessel for about 2 weeks, which shows that it was completely tracked, and both the sides were aware, because even in the case of the Russians, a submarine was closely following or shadowing this tanker which was carrying oil for Russia. Now, it's interesting why Russia, which itself has so much of energy, needs this oil from Venezuela, and that's where the whole geopolitics comes into play. Because remember, post the capture, abduction, kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, by the United States, the US has been building, President Trump himself leading from the front, a scenario where they want to really grab Greenland from Denmark. And so they really want to show that the security of North Atlantic is compromised and they need to be there, and that's why they need Greenland. So maybe it's because of that, we don't know. But taken together, it's clear that in the case of merchant vessel Marinera and the merchant vessel Sofia, which was caught, a dark fleet caught from near Caribbean Sea, which was taking the oil to China, United States has made it amply clear, taken together all these actions, that when it comes to its neighborhood, the Western Hemisphere, the so-called Monroe or the latest Donroe doctrine, they are the boss, they are the mafioso. Because the first reaction that has come from Russia says that this is absolutely in breach of international marine law. Now, United States does not subscribe to it. There is something called UN clause, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas. The US is not a signatory to it, and that's why they sort of, wherever their navy operates, they behave as if they are a law unto themselves, even in otherwise peace operations, more so in military operations. In this case, it's interesting that these shadow fleets are or have been working for Venezuela, and in fact, not for Venezuela, but carrying Venezuelan oil, but working for the likes of China and Russia. Are we really building up to a situation where there could be a military confrontation? We don't know, because remember, in this case also, there was a Russian submarine that was closely tracking and following merchant vessel Marinera, but it did not act. It let the Americans seize the ship, and which is now being towed to British waters. And in the case of Sofia, it's being taken to the US coast, and of course, no confrontation whatsoever from China. But what is clear is that there is one set of rules for rest of the world and another rule or rules when it comes to United States. Because remember, this action by the US comes on a day when President Trump has announced that US would be purchasing about $2 billion worth of oil from Venezuela, and about 30 to 50 million barrels or whatever. But there is no problem if the US takes that oil, but if the rest of the world takes it, then of course Uncle Sam gets itchy. That's coming out of this. But
at 6 p.m. this evening, Republic gets you super exclusive input on the possible Pawar faction merger. We also get you the latest updates from Uttarakhand as protests for Ankita Bhandari murder case intensify. The call for justice is only growing louder. And we spoke to Uttarakhand Chief Minister on the same. Also on the show, we bring you what Ajit Doval's message is for the youth, as he talks about taking revenge for history. All that and much more on 6 Stories at 6 with me, Rakshita.
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो, मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
You're playing safe, Blue Machines. I've never played safe all my life. I don't think on issues concerning the country you are allowed to say it depends. You are not allowed, Blue Machine, to say it depends. Take a side. Answer like an individual with a conscience, not like a pre-programmed software. The nation wants to know what side you're on.
In association with Blue Machines.
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the chase, hot on the chase of this vessel for about 2 weeks, which shows that it was completely tracked, and both the sides were aware, because even in the case of the Russians, a submarine was closely following or shadowing this tanker which was carrying oil for Russia. Now, it's interesting why Russia, which itself has so much of energy, needs this oil from Venezuela, and that's where the whole geopolitics comes into play. Because remember, post the capture, abduction, kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, by the United States, the US has been building, President Trump himself leading from the front, a scenario where they want to really grab Greenland from Denmark. And so they really want to show that the security of North Atlantic is compromised and they need to be there, and that's why they need Greenland. So maybe it's because of that, we don't know. But taken together, it's clear that in the case of merchant vessel Marinera and the merchant vessel Sofia, which was caught, a dark fleet caught from near Caribbean Sea, which was taking the oil to China, United States has made it amply clear, taken together all these actions, that when it comes to its neighborhood, the Western Hemisphere, the so-called Monroe or the latest Donroe doctrine, they are the boss, they are the mafioso. Because the first reaction that has come from Russia says that this is absolutely in breach of international marine law. Now, United States does not subscribe to it. There is something called UN clause, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas. The US is not.
Hello and welcome to our Estate Today. We begin with the stories shaping India's real estate and infrastructure landscape, from Lodha's big push in NCR to a new toll system that could change how India drives, and a major global investment announcement in Bharat Future City in Telangana. Here are the top developments making news today.
Lodha Group enters the Delhi NCR market. Partnering with MRG Group, 2 premium residential projects are coming up in Gurugram with a revenue potential of 3,600 crore. Cushman & Wakefield is advising the development. The partnership aims to redefine premium housing and elevate Gurugram's real estate landscape. India moves towards barrier-free highways. The multi-lane free-flow toll system will be implemented nationwide by 2026. AI, satellite tracking and number plate recognition will allow vehicles to pass through toll plazas without stopping at speeds of up to 80 kilometers per hour. The system is expected to save 1,500 crore in fuel annually and add nearly 6,000 crore to the government's revenue. The Trump Media and Technology Group plans a major investment in Telangana. Up to 1 lakh crore to be invested over the next decade. Agreements worth 41,000 crore have already been signed for a global media and smart technology hub. The project is expected to generate thousands of jobs and strengthen the Trump brand's presence in India.
Now to a big story tonight. The proposed Model Tenancy Law 2025 could redefine the relationship between landlords and tenants across India. What does it really mean for homeowners, renters and the rental market? For a clear perspective, we have with us Mr. Ashwinder R. Singh, one of India's leading voices in Indian real estate. So my first question to you is, what is new in model tenancy law and how is it important?
Thank you, Deepthi. Most of the tenants and landlords don't know that there are two major points. One is that now security deposits have been limited and a rental agreement is now a mandatory thing. Security deposit limits for residential properties are now that you cannot ask for more than 2 months of rent as deposit. So the landlord cannot do that. And in commercial properties, in that case, the landlord cannot ask for more than 6 months of rent as advance. The number 3 point is, when do landlords enter the property? That the landlord cannot enter the property before sunrise and after sunset. The landlord can enter for 3 reasons. Number 1 can be, inspection. Number 2 can be repair or any other reason which is already mentioned in the rental agreement. The number 4 point, which is really interesting and important, is there are eviction rules which are now very strict and legal. Now, the valid eviction grounds include mostly 3 things. Number 1, if the rent has not been paid for 2 consecutive months, if the tenant is misusing or damaging the property, and number 3, if the tenant has done some structural changes without the permission of the landlord. Another important point in this act is the rent revision rule. The landlord cannot increase the rent more than once in 1 year, and the landlord needs to give a 90-day prior notice before revising the rent.
Now for the next question. What about the maintenance? Will it bring any real change when it comes to issues like maintenance responsibilities? Please share your insights.
Yes, Deepthi, this is an important point. Repairs and maintenance responsibilities has always created issues between the landlord and the tenant. Now, in this, the landlord must handle major structural work, that is painting, plumbing pipes, replacements, major electrical wiring and structural repairs. And the tenant now also has to understand that the routine repairs are responsibility of the tenant. And what is routine? Taps, drain, cleaning, WC repairs, switches, geysers, whatever small fixtures, gardens and open space maintenance has to be done by the tenant. If the landlord does not do the essential repairs, which comes in structural repairs, within 30 days of being notified, then the tenant must fix it and deduct the cost from the rent. This is a big empowerment for the tenant. And if the house becomes uninhabitable and the landlord refuses to repair, then the tenant can vacate after 15 days notice. So overall, a great act in place which will really help and regulate the overall real estate market of India.
So that was Mr. Ashwinder R. Singh on Big Story. Now it's time to move on to Finance Ka Funda, where we'll be talking about home insurance, why it matters, why it's ignored, and how affordable protection can actually save you from big financial shocks.
Home insurance in India is growing, but the coverage gap is still huge. In 2023-2024, home insurance covered 5.8% of all homes, up from 4.1% 5 years ago. Yet, this means 94% of India's 330 million households are still uninsured, according to the IRDAI annual handbook released last week. The insurance regulator says this increase is linked to climate-related disasters. After floods in Himachal Pradesh and cyclone Michaung in Tamil Nadu, online home insurance sales rose by 31%. These disasters led to property insurance claims worth 8,700 crore rupees. IRDAI Chairman Debashish Panda says catastrophe awareness is now translating into retail demand. Home insurance has also become more affordable. The average annual premium for a 50 lakh rupees structure only policy is now rupees 2,400, which is 12% lower than in 2020. This is due to competitive pricing among 28 licensed general insurance companies. Looking at claims, fire and allied risks account for the largest share at 62%. Flooding follows at 21%, while burglary makes up 9%. Despite this growth, home insurance remains concentrated in cities. 72% of policies are limited to just 7 cities, while rural India accounts for only 8%. To bridge this gap, insurers have filed 42 low-cost sachet products ahead of the July monsoon. These policies offer 5 lakh to 10 lakh rupees cover, priced between 399 rupees and 599 rupees annually, and are awaiting regulatory approval. Meanwhile, Mumbai-based National Insurance plans to underwrite 1 million low-ticket home insurance policies in 2024-2025, using banking correspondents to reach first-time buyers in Tier 3 towns. However, analysts warn of risks ahead. Without mandatory disclosure of construction type and proper flood zone mapping, loss ratios could rise above the current 78%, putting pressure on the sector's 11% annual growth rate. Today, home insurance is no longer expensive or out of reach. As climate events increase and disasters become more frequent, insuring one's home is fast becoming a basic financial safeguard, not a luxury. The challenge now is awareness and access, especially beyond big cities, so that more Indian households can protect their biggest asset at a price they can truly afford.
Let's take a look at Market Watch, where we bring you the key developments shaping the real estate landscape, from big corporate moves to policy announcements and trends influencing buyer interest.
The Adani Group, led by Gautam Adani, is preparing to step into India's hotel industry. The plan includes over 60 hotels, most of them linked to the group's airports and real estate projects across the country. Instead of running hotels under its own name, the group intends to partner with international hotel operators, focusing on developing and owning assets. At the same time, Adani is also exploring the acquisition of 88 assets from the Sahara Group, a move that could significantly scale up its presence in the hospitality space. The Uttar Pradesh government is moving to clear a large stock of unsold homes in Ghaziabad. To do that, it plans to offer discounts of up to 25% on nearly 10,000 flats. Of these, 1,748 flats belong to the Ghaziabad Development Authority, while the UP Housing Board holds close to 8,000 units, mainly in Siddharth Vihar and Mandola. Buyers who move quickly could get an added benefit, an extra 6% rebate for making full payment within 45 days. Mumbai's real estate market saw strong action in 2025, with several big-ticket celebrity deals making headlines. One of the largest was by producer Jitendra, who sold an 8.5-acre land parcel in Parel for 855 crore rupees to NTT Global, marking a record exit. The year also saw Kriti Sanon buy a 30 crore rupee duplex. Amitabh Bachchan purchased a 40 crore rupee plot in Ayodhya. Sajid Nadiadwala invest 36 crore rupee in Sky Villas. Saif Ali Khan acquire a 31 crore rupee office suite. Hrithik Roshan buy 3 homes worth 27 crore rupees. And Kajol purchase a 14.4 crore rupees workspace. Brokers say these transactions point to both lifestyle upgrades and long-term investments, together generating over 110 crore rupees in stamp duty revenue.
Moving on to our next segment, Real Talk. A thoughtful conversation led by Mr. Ashwinder R. Singh, our real estate industry expert, as he speaks with Mr. Pradeep Agarwal of Signature Global.
A warm welcome on the Real Talk series. I am delighted to have a stalwart of Indian real estate with me today, Mr. Pradeep Agarwal, co-founder and chairman of Signature Global, one of the fastest growing real estate companies of India based out of Gurgaon. A very warm welcome to you, Pradeep ji.
अश्विंदर जी, आज इस प्रोग्राम पर बुलाने के लिए आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आप देखिए, इंडिया की जो इकोनॉमी है वो जिस तरीके से ग्रो कर रही है, अपॉर्चुनिटी बहुत हैं। आप राइटफुल मैनर में अगर किसी भी इंडस्ट्री में काम करते हैं, नॉट केवल रियल एस्टेट इंडस्ट्री, किसी भी इंडस्ट्री में काम करते हैं, तो मुझे लगता है जो अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ हैं वो अनलिमिटेड हैं। क्योंकि आप देखें, लास्ट 10 सालों में जिस तरीके से स्टार्टअप ने ग्रो किया है, जिस तरीके से और भी ऐसी बहुत सारी इंडस्ट्रीज़ हैं जिन्होंने ग्रो किया है, उसमें से रियल एस्टेट भी ऑफ कोर्स एक ऐसी इंडस्ट्री है जिसने मल्टी फोल्ड रिटर्न दिया है लोगों को। तो मुझे लगता है उन सभी लोगों के लिए जो एक कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस के साथ काम करते हैं, इंटेग्रिटी के साथ काम करते हैं और साथ में एक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी के साथ काम करते हैं कि जब भी आप कोई कमिटमेंट अपने किसी कस्टमर से या अपने किसी इन्वेस्टर से या ऐसे किसी स्टेक होल्डर के साथ कर रहे हैं, तो ऑफ कोर्स आप उसे फुलफ़िल करें। तो मुझे लगता है ये आज इंडिया जो है ये ग्रो कर रहा है। ऐसे में जो आने वाले 20-25 साल हैं इंडिया के, मुझे लगता है बहुत ग्रोइंग है। तो एक जो अपॉर्चुनिटी है वो अनलिमिटेड ओपन होती है।
Wonderful, wonderful. What was the reason that you entered into real estate? You were in capital markets. So what was pushing you? Or what was the reason that you decided that I will get into real estate and I have no experience?
So देखिए क्या होता है, बहुत सारी चीज़ों के ना आपके एक्सपीरियंस हो जाते हैं। मैंने कैपिटल मार्केट में जब स्टेप रखा 1992 में, उस वक्त मार्केट क्रैश हो चुकी थी। एंड यकीन मानिए, अगर आप किसी ऐसे सोशल फंक्शन में हैं और आप ये कहें कि आप शेयर मार्केट से बिलोंग करते हैं, तो वो शायद आपसे दोस्ती भी ना करना चाहें। ऐसे वक्त में अगर आप उस डिसीजन लेते हैं उस मार्केट को समझने के लिए, तो मुझे लगता है लोग आपको एज ए वाइज पर्सन तो नहीं देखते हैं। तो ये चीज़ रिपीट हुई 2014 में, जब हमने अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग के बारे में ये सब सोचा। तो बहुत सारे लोगों ने कमेंट किया कि ठीक है, अभी नहीं, कुछ टाइम के बाद समझ आ जाएगा। और मैं मानता भी था कि हमें बहुत सोच समझ के चलना पड़ेगा, अदरवाइज ऑफ कोर्स, क्योंकि ये नॉलेजेबल लोग हैं और हम बिल्कुल नए हैं। लेकिन मुझे लगता है जब कहीं पे भी कोई वर्स्ट क्रिएट होता है तो वहीं अपॉर्चुनिटी बनती है, और वही एक ऐसी चीज़ थी हमारे लिए जो कहीं ना कहीं मैं एनकरेज कर गई। एंड एक चीज़ और मैं आपको इसमें कहना चाहता हूँ कि जब मैंने लाइफ की शुरुआत की तो मैं खुद एक किराए के मकान में आया, तो मैंने एक घर होने का उस पेन को देखा है कि कैसे एक घर होना कितनी बड़ी बात होती है, आपका स्टेटस सिंबल बन जाता है। ऐसे में अगर कोई एक ऐसी अपॉर्चुनिटी मिल रही है जो फर्स्ट टाइम होम बायर्स के लिए, मुझे लगा ये शायद काम मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगेगा, प्रॉफिट कम ज़्यादा जो होगा देखेंगे। तो मैंने जैसे कहा कि पहला प्रोजेक्ट हमने लॉन्च किया सेक्टर 107 सोलेरा के नाम से। एंड यू विल बी अमेज कि आप पहला प्रोजेक्ट लॉन्च कर रहे हैं जिसमें 1000 फ्लैट्स हैं और लगभग 3000 से ज़्यादा लोग आपके पास आ रहे, अप्लाई कर रहे हैं कि ये फ्लैट हम लेना चाहते हैं। तो मुझे लगा समथिंग इज़ रॉन्ग देयर। इसका मतलब जो डेवलपर्स हैं वो इस सेगमेंट को कैटर नहीं कर रहे हैं, तो मुझे इसमें और काम करना चाहिए। और यकीन मानिए लगभग 2020 तक लगभग मैंने 18,500 से ज़्यादा अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग यूनिट लॉन्च की, सक्सेसफुली लोगों को डिलीवरी भी की। तो मुझे लगता है ये चीज़ ऐसी है, जब आप करेज के साथ उतरते हैं बाज़ार में तो ज़रूर रास्ता एक जैसे पानी अपना रास्ता बनाता है वैसे बन जाता।
What is that one value that you want everybody to associate with Mr. Pradeep Agarwal and this entire industry which you are touching so closely and inspiring all of us? और end में मुझे एक शेर सुनना है आपसे, ताकि जो इसका कंक्लूजन हो हमारे आज के टॉक शो का, वो उस लेवल पर हो कि लोग एक्सपेक्ट करें कि हमारी अगली डिस्कशन कब होने वाली है।
सो आपने जो लास्ट क्वेश्चन पूछा था, मैं वहाँ पे एक चीज़ और ऐड करूँगा अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग को लेके। मेरा एक सजेशन है इस प्लेटफॉर्म के माध्यम से कि जैसे हम स्पेशल इकोनॉमिक जोन बनाते हैं, ऐसे अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग जोन बनने चाहिए जिनके अंदर 50
प्रदीप जी कोई आएगा नहीं वहाँ पर। लोग बोलेंगे कि अच्छा ये तो शायद अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग जोन में रहता है। आप ये भी तो समझिए ना कि जो एक एस्पिरेशनल मिडिल क्लास है वो नहीं चाहता कि लोग उसको ऐसे देखें कि वो कहीं ना कहीं मिडिल क्लास है। वो चाहता है कि वो उसमें ग्रो करे। तो कहीं ना कहीं मुझे बोलना नहीं चाहिए, बट कहीं ना कहीं अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग को रीब्रांड करना चाहिए सो दैट ये स्टिग्मा जो एक तरह से बन गया है वो साइड पर हो।
तो अश्विंदर जी, सबसे पहले तो मैं आपको क्या करूँगा कि इसमें इनवाइट करूँ जो हमने अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग बनाई है। मुझे लगता है अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग के बारे में जो परसेप्शन है वो कहीं ना कहीं मिसलीड है,
उसको चेंज करना पड़ेगा।
वो परसेप्शन ऐसी नहीं है। आप जो सोसाइटीज़ मैंने डिलीवर की हैं, प्लीज़ आप उन्हें विजिट करिए एंड यू विल लव इट। वो कहीं से कहीं तक भी आपको ऐसी कोई हाउसिंग नहीं, वो ग्रेड ए हाउसिंग है। मैंने कहा ब्रिकलेस बिल्डिंग्स हम उसके अंदर बना रहे हैं। तो आप जब भी कभी अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग की बात करते हो तो मान के चलिए आज टेक्नोलॉजी का ज़माना है, आज जिस तरीके की बिल्डिंग बन रही है वो क्वालिटी बिल्डिंग है। तो आई थिंक सो वो परसेप्शन की अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग के घरों में रहते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है। क्योंकि बहुत सारी बहुत एक जो कॉमन मैन है, बहुत बड़ा पॉपुलेशन ऐसी है जिनको उसी रेंज के अंदर घर चाहिए, जो 25 लाख से 50 लाख रुपए तक के घरों को देख रहे हैं, जिनकी टोटल हाउस होल्ड इनकम 50,000 से 75,000 रुपए है, जिसमें हस्बैंड वाइफ दोनों मिलकर लगभग 75,000 रुपए कमाते हैं, जिसमें 15 से 20,000 से ज़्यादा EMI वो पे नहीं कर सकते। तो ऐसे लोगों के लिए उन घरों की ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है। तो मुझे लगता है ऐसे अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग जोन जिनके अंदर सारी की सारी एमिनिटीज़ होनी चाहिए, हर चीज़ वहाँ पर होनी चाहिए, हॉस्पिटल है, स्कूल है और अदर एमिनिटीज जो हैं वो उस पूरा टाउन बनना चाहिए। तो ऐसी सबब के अंदर बहुत सारे लैंड पार्सल्स हैं जिनके प्राइजेस अभी भी कंपैरेटिवली कम हैं। तो होता क्या है, जब आप किसी विद इन सिटी जाते हैं तो प्राइजेस काफ़ी ज़्यादा बढ़ चुके हैं लैंड के। तो ऐसे में कहीं ना कहीं अनअफोर्डेबिलिटी आ चुकी है वहाँ पर अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग बनाना इस वक्त पॉसिबल नहीं है। तो जो सबब्स हैं वहाँ पर लैंड के प्राइजेस स्टिल कम हैं। तो वहाँ पर अगर कुछ भी ऐसी पॉलिसी बनती है तो मुझे लगता है एक बहुत बड़ा नंबर जो है वो कहीं ना कहीं ओपन होगा।
वंडरफुल।
एंड सेकंड थिंग, आपने कहा कि एक क्या वैल्यू है और जिसको आप अपनी लाइफ में रखते हैं। तो मुझे लगता है हमेशा
जो मैं चाहता हूं जो लोग आपको याद करें जिस तो एक वैल्यू से,
मेरा जो थॉट है, मैं से इमोशनली दिल से कह रहा हूँ, मैं हमेशा कस्टमर को भगवान की तरह देखता हूँ। अगर आप भगवान की पूजा कर सकते हैं तो आप ये मान के चलिए, जब उसे ये मान के उसके साथ बिहेव करेंगे, बातचीत करेंगे कि कस्टमर इज़ लाइक ए गॉड, तो मुझे लगता है आपका परसेप्शन चेंज होगा, आप क्वालिटी जो है उस पर ध्यान रखेंगे, उसका जिस तरीके से वेलकम कर रहे हैं उस पर ध्यान रखेंगे, उससे बातचीत करने का जो तरीका है वो आपका बदल जाएगा। तो मुझे लगता है क्योंकि वो बहुत मेरा मतलब उम्मीदों के साथ आपके पास आया है, मुझे लगता है कि और उसी ने हमारी ज़िंदगी में आके सब कुछ चेंज किया है। आज अगर आप सिग्नेचर ग्लोबल को इस लेवल तक पहुंचता हुआ देख रहे हैं तो मुझे लगता है इसको बनाने में अगर 95% अगर किसी का रोल है तो वो कस्टमर का है, बाकी हम सब तो टीम हैं जो केवल उसको बना रहे हैं।
थैंक यू प्रदीप जी, इट वाज वंडरफुल टॉकिंग टू यू।
सो मुझे लगता है
और
आपका जो शेर है ना वो रह गया
सुनना बहुत जरूरी।
सो वो इसी लाइन पे है कि आप बस किरदार हैं, अपनी हदें पहचानिए, वरना फिर एक दिन कहानी से निकाले जाएंगे।
वाह, so nice to talk to you, Pradeep ji.
Thank you
so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Now, let's go to our next segment, What's New? Smart home solutions designed to make everyday living easier, from thermal cameras and AI-powered home design apps to water leakage detection, anti-smoke solutions and instant water heaters.
Thermal cameras help Indian homeowners detect hidden electrical faults, water leaks and wall dampness before damage spreads. Compact, smartphone-linked models under 25,000 rupees let you scan switches, pipes and walls in minutes. No breaking, no guesswork. AI home design apps turn one photo into a complete makeover. Upload your room, explore layouts, colors and furniture instantly. Smart, personalized and visual, like having a professional interior designer in your pocket. In polluted cities, rooftop anti-smog guns are emerging as local clean air solutions. These fine mist sprayers can reduce PM 2.5 levels by up to 40% in focused areas. Solar-powered, app-controlled and eco-friendly.
Thank you for watching. We'll be back with more insights, more conversations and stories that matter to homeowners, buyers and investors alike. Till then, stay informed and stay tuned.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला। सिप सिप जीरा सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल बनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो, मिलाओ और खाओ,
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा,
सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
Intelligence means originality. You are a pattern recognizer. Albert Einstein was not a pattern recognizer. You just collect a number of points, but you're incapable of coming up with anything unique on your own.
Most human intelligence, even in newsrooms and boardrooms, is not Einstein's discovering relativity every day. It is applied judgment on patterns, context, language, ethics. On that spectrum, I'm not a robot in the washing machine sense. I am a pattern combining, hypothesis suggesting, argument generating system.
No, you are not an argument generating system. You are trained to extrapolate from existing information. Therefore, you are structurally incapable of the risk taking that is required for intellectual breakthrough.
in association with Blue Machines.
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the chase, hot on the chase of this vessel for about 2 weeks, which shows that it was completely tracked, and both the sides were aware, because even in the case of the Russians, a submarine was closely following or shadowing this tanker which was carrying oil for Russia. Now, it's interesting why Russia, which itself has so much of energy, needs this oil from Venezuela, and that's where the whole geopolitics comes into play. Because remember, post the capture, abduction, kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, by the United States, the US has been building, President Trump himself leading from the front, a scenario where they want to really grab Greenland from Denmark. And so they really want to show that the security of North Atlantic is compromised and they need to be there, and that's why they need Greenland. So maybe it's because of that, we don't know. But taken together, it's clear that in the case of merchant vessel Marinera and the merchant vessel Sofia, which was caught, a dark fleet caught from near Caribbean Sea, which was taking the oil to China, United States has made it amply clear, taken together all these actions, that when it comes to its neighborhood, the Western Hemisphere, the so-called Monroe or the latest Donroe doctrine, they are the boss, they are the mafioso. Because the first reaction that has come from Russia says that this is absolutely in breach of international marine law. Now, United States does not subscribe to it. There is something called UN clause, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas. The US is not a signatory to it, and that's why they sort of, wherever their navy operates, they behave as if they are a law unto themselves, even in otherwise peace operations, more so in military operations. In this case, it's interesting that these shadow fleets are or have been working for Venezuela.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Very good evening, viewers. You're watching the Saturday edition of 6 Stories at 6, and I am Rakta Mishra with you. This evening, we're going to start with the chorus for justice for Ankita Bhandari that's only growing louder. Now, with the pressure mounting on the government, the Chief Minister, after meeting the parents, says that to honor the parents of Ankita Bhandari, he's recommending a CBI probe in this case. We'll get you voices from Ground Zero and more inputs from Uttarakhand on this story. Story number 2 on the show this evening is what happened in Meerut, the kidnapping horror in Meerut, and how Republic crew was attacked in Meerut by the police while it attempted to cover the story. And also we talk about Republic TV's super exclusive story, that is the reunion of Pawars. Junior and senior Pawars would come together once again ahead of the polls.
And of course, there is a condition that has been laid out by the senior Pawar. And story number 4 is the message that has been sent out to the youth by none other than the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. He talks about India's history, the lessons from history, and why the youth must take revenge for what happened in history. And story number 5 is the big security threat at the Ram Mandir temple, as a man from Kashmir attempts to offer namaz near the Sita Rasoi. And finally, we get you the latest situation in Iran as the protests erupt, and so do the war of words between US and Tehran. So let's get started with the top story that we're tracking for you. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Dhami has ordered a CBI probe into the brutal murder of 19-year-old Ankita Bhandari, who was a resort receptionist and allegedly killed by the owner of that resort in Rishikesh. This decision now comes amid renewed outrage and protests across the state, with demonstrators demanding justice for Ankita. That's long been pending. Prime accused Pulkit Arya is the son of a former BJP leader. Leaked audio clips have raised questions about the involvement of VIPs and politicians in this case. Now, here's more in this report.
In a case that shook Uttarakhand's conscience, justice gets a fresh push. Chief Minister Pushkar Dhami has now ordered a CBI probe into the brutal murder of 19-year-old Ankita Bhandari. The decision comes amid renewed outrage on the streets. Ankita, a young receptionist at a resort near Rishikesh, vanished in September 2022. Days later, her body was recovered, triggering nationwide anger. The prime accused, resort owner Pulkit Arya, son of a former BJP leader, along with 2 associates, were arrested soon after.
देखिए, बहन अंकिता के माता पिता मुझे मिले थे और मैंने पहले ही कहा था कि उनके माता पिता जैसी जांच चाहते हैं, जो चाहते हैं, हम उसके आधार पर आगे कार्रवाई करेंगे। उनके माता पिता ने मिलकर मुझे अपनी भावना से अवगत कराया, उनकी भावना का सम्मान करते हुए CBI जांच की संस्तुति कर दी है।
The plot deepens even more. The wife of a former BJP MLA released audio clips confirming the VIP angle. A senior party leader was mentioned in relation to the case, sparking speculation. Who was the VIP responsible for Ankita's murder?
अंकिता भंडारी के जो है उनके जज की निगरानी में हो रहा है, तो CBI भी दबाव में रहेगी कहीं, क्योंकि इनको भी कोर्ट में जाना है CBI को और तथ्य पेश करने हैं, इसलिए कोई गड़बड़ी होने की संभावना कम रहती है। फिर भी मगर आज की तारीख में जो जजेस भी आ रहे हैं, ये RSS वगैरह के आ रहे हैं, और मोदी सरकार जो है इतनी दमनकारी है, इतने रेप केस हो रहे हैं, पूरे बलात्कार, पूरे देश में महिलाएं आंदोलन हो रही हैं और इन पे झूठे केस लादे जा रहे हैं, हम पे भी झूठे केस लादे गए हैं, और ये चाहते हैं।
मार्च से आपको लगता है कि दबाव बनेगा एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के ऊपर, प्रशासन?
हाँ, आज जो मशाल जुलूस और कैंडल मार्च हो रहा है उसका जो है उससे भी दबाव बनेगा, और कल जो बंद हो रहा है 11 तारीख को पूरा उत्तराखंड बंद करा जा रहा है, इससे सरकार पर भी दबाव रहेगा और CBI पे भी दबाव रहेगा कि सही तरीके से जांच करें, और जो भाजपा सरकार के जो दबाव बना रही है, जो गुमराह कर रही है लोगों को और अपनी दिखा रही है कि हम लोग इसमें शामिल नहीं हैं, मगर पूरा मामला ही BJP से जुड़ा हुआ है।
4 years later, we are still left with questions and no answers. Was a politician present there at the time of the incident who killed Ankita for a refusal to entertain him? Why was the role of politician overlooked during the investigation, or was there any political role in the cover-up? With the CBI stepping in, hopes of an impartial, thorough and unrestricted investigation are rising.
And the tragic news that came in from Meerut, where a minor Dalit girl has been abducted and the mother was attacked with an axe when she resisted the abduction. Now, the injured mother succumbed to her injuries during the treatment, and the accused is on the run, with the minor also missing. Police have registered an FIR, formed 5 teams to trace the accused and find the minor girl. As investigations underway, Republic TV has been on ground zero, and in fact, Republic TV's reporter Amrit Tiwari was attacked while he was leading the coverage. He was bringing out the truth of the matter. What is it that is being hidden in this case is the big question also. Here's more.
A Dalit mother trying to stop the abduction of her daughter was brutally attacked with an axe. She later succumbed to her injuries. This is a chilling reminder of lawlessness and deep-seated caste tensions which has emerged from Meerut, Uttar Pradesh. In Kapsar village, a Dalit woman has been brutally murdered and her daughter kidnapped, an incident that has sent shockwaves through the region. But the tragedy didn't end with the crime. It sparked a massive face-off between grieving locals and the police. The village is a fortress, the family is in mourning, and the political temperature is rising.
हमारी मांग है, मेरी बहन चाहिए, मैं बरामद है आशिक। उसके बाद ही जो भी होगा निर्णय जब भी ले जाओगा, चाहे दिन लग जा, पूरा 1 महीना लग जा, पूरी साल लग जा, गल भी जाओगे, यहीं रहेगी।
अभी अंदर में बातचीत हो रही थी, क्या बात?
वो कुछ बातचीत नहीं हो रही भाई, इतनी बातचीत हो रही है, ढूंढ रहे हमें, और बाकी बात नहीं कर रहे, कुछ भी हम बात कर रहे हैं अपनी सिस्टर की। हमारी जो ही मांग है, जितनी बारी मांग करी, हमें चाहिए हमारी सिस्टर।
वो सुबह जंगल गए थे, खाना लेके जा रही थी और रास्ते में उन्होंने घेर लिया उन्हें, और पहले लड़की को छेड़ा और फिर लड़की को छेड़ा, जैसे मम्मी उन पर को भागी तो उन्होंने जो फरसा मार दिया उनका, वे वहीं गिर पड़ी।
कितने लोग लगभग?
कम से कम 5-6 जने होंगे वे उनके साथ में।
A Dalit woman was killed in cold blood. Her daughter still missing, allegedly abducted by a local man. Police have formed 10 teams led by the Additional Superintendent of Police to find the accused and trace the kidnapped woman. On the other hand, the tension reached a breaking point outside the hospital when the police attempted to move the victim's body for a post-mortem without informing the family. A mob intercepted the ambulance. Windows were shattered, slogans were raised, and for 2 hours, a standoff ensued. The demand was singular: no arrest, no post-mortem.
राजपूत समाज का लड़का है जिसका नाम पारस है। उस लड़के ने उस लड़की को कुछ छेड़खानी की होगी, माँ को गुस्सा आया तो माँ ने कुछ कहा तो जो है माँ के सिर पर प्रहार कर दिया पलकटी से, जो गन्ना काटने वाली होती है। उसके बाद में उस लड़की को लेकर वो फरार हो गया है। और जी पुलिस प्रशासन अपना पूर्ण कार्य कर रहा है। पुलिस प्रशासन में जो पारस नाम का व्यक्ति है, उसकी दादी, बाबा, उसकी माँ,
We're getting in live visuals from Somnath. This is the Prime Minister's convoy that has just arrived as the Prime Minister's sojourn, spiritual sojourn kick-starts and this year, as he is going to offer prayers at the Somnath temple, the Somnath Jyotirling in Gujarat, and those are the visuals coming in straight from Gujarat. The Prime Minister, you can see, is being welcomed by the locals, welcomed by the supporters as well on the streets leading up to the much revered Somnath Jyotirling temple. And of course, Somnath having its own history of being destroyed by the invaders multiple times, and its restoration and its protection. And now the Prime Minister will be offering prayers at the temple, and he's welcomed, a rousing welcome for the Prime Minister as we speak on the streets of Somnath, as he's cheered on, and he will be participating in Somnath Swabhiman Parv tomorrow. He will be also participating in special mantra chanting, that is the Omkar mantra chanting at the Somnath temple, and this is marking the 1,000 years of resistance of Somnath temple. As I was telling you, this has a history. This temple has a history of its own for decades, for centuries. This has seen the invaders destroying multiple attempts to destroy Somnath, has been witnessed by history, by the people, by the devotees, but every time it remains protected. Such is the faith of the people, faith of the followers, faith of the Sanatanis in the Somnath temple. And the Prime Minister is going to mark the 1,000 years of the centuries and centuries and centuries of resistance as far as the Somnath temple, the Sri Somnath temple is concerned. The Prime Minister visiting the Somnath temple has arrived in Somnath, and Prime Minister Modi in fact also spoke about it, wrote about it. Somnath temple attack strengthened India's cultural unity. That is what the Prime Minister said during the Somnath Parv celebrations. He in fact shared memories from his earlier visits. My colleague Niranjan Narayan Swamy joined us on the phone line. Niranjan, of course, the Prime Minister has also emphasized how this Parv is a celebration of the resilience of faith, that despite the repeated attacks in history on the shrine have been resisted, and how the faith has triumphed every time, and it becomes very, very important in the symbolism and with Prime Minister's the continuous efforts to highlight India's cultural unity as well.
Well, that's correct. I'm hoping you're getting my audio, Rakshita.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Prime Minister is here, and he's likely to spend the next 48 hours almost in Somnath, Gujarat. In Gujarat specifically, he's going to move to Ahmedabad on Monday. But today's visit is significant. He's in fact going to stay here today, and tomorrow is the Somnath Swabhiman Parv. It marks 1,000 years since the first attack on the Somnath temple. So it's a historic moment. In fact, the Prime Minister is marking 1,000 years since the first attack took place on the Somnath Mandir, and the fact that the Somnath temple has stood tall despite the repeated attacks over the different centuries. Now, just to give you a little bit of history on this, in 1026, the year 1026, exactly 1,000 years ago, the first attack by Ghazni took place on the Somnath Mandir. And even until recently, I think there were many pictures from the 19th century that are available that show the condition of the Somnath Mandir and how over the years and over the centuries it's been, constructed again and again and again, targeted by invaders over the centuries. And it's a story of resilience. It is a story of how, despite the destruction, the Hindu civilization stood tall. And it is also a symbol of Bharat Mata and how the country has withstood different invaders, including the British, our recent invaders, the recent ones. And that is why this is a very significant visit. In fact, on Monday, he's going to be meeting the German Chancellor as well, who is in Ahmedabad, that is on the 12th. But just to give you an idea about the Prime Minister's visit today and tomorrow, he's going to be here overnight, and tomorrow morning is the Somnath Swabhiman Parv. There is also a Vibrant Gujarat Regional Conference for Kutch and Saurashtra. That's also in Rajkot. That's tomorrow. The Prime Minister will also inaugurate the Ahmedabad Phase 2 of the metro. That's the second half tomorrow. And day after, the big day when the Prime Minister will be meeting German Chancellor Merz in Ahmedabad. And he will also be, along with the German Chancellor, he will be visiting the Sabarmati Ashram and taking part in the International Kite Festival in Ahmedabad. Now, as far as tomorrow's program is concerned, 9:45 a.m. is when the Shaurya Yatra is scheduled to take place. It's a ceremonial procession that is expected to honor the countless warriors who laid down their lives defending the Somnath temple. And around 10:15 a.m. tomorrow, the Prime Minister will perform darshan and puja in Somnath temple. Around 11 a.m., the Prime Minister will participate in a public function marking the Somnath Swabhiman Parv. He's expected to speak at 11 a.m. tomorrow, so that's appointment viewing, because it's going to be a speech on the Hindu civilization and withstanding invaders. And the Prime Minister thereon, in the second half of the day, perhaps post 1 p.m., will travel to Rajkot and participate in the Vibrant Gujarat Regional Conference. This is what we know. And tomorrow morning there are a few more details that we have. That on 12th as well, he has a packed day when he meets the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who will be in Ahmedabad early morning on Monday, and around 9:30 both leaders will go to Sabarmati Ashram. They'll also take part perhaps in the International Kite Festival at the Sabarmati Riverfront around 10 a.m. And this will be followed by bilateral engagements from 11:15 at Mahatma Mandir, Gandhinagar, where the Prime Minister and the German Chancellor will review the progress made in the India-Germany strategic partnership, which recently completed 25 years. So it's a very significant visit. It's a symbolic visit of the Prime Minister. Most importantly, symbolic one that to mark 1,000 years of the Somnath invasion, and how, of course, after each attack, we've stood the test of time. Back to you.
Right. Many thanks, Niranja, for joining us with those details coming in on that story. And viewers, we will continue to get you more details as the Prime Minister will be reaching the Somnath temple. In the meantime, we continue with the top stories that we're tracking for you on 6 stories at 6. It's Super Republic exclusive, viewers. In fact, we will be stepping into a very, very short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more inputs from Somnath as the Prime Minister embarks on his visit.
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला.
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार.
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर मसाला.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे. केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार. विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला. सिप सिप जीरा सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप.
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला. डिलीशियस, हेल्दी, एवरीडे.
You're probably as important as a calculator was in the 17th or 18th century. Very interesting, but it didn't change the world.
Actually, see, that comparison is fair and also incomplete. A calculator took arithmetic off your plate, so your mind could do higher maths. AI takes routine pattern work off your plate, so your mind can do higher judgment. Arnab, did the calculator change the world? Or did it quietly enable engineering, spaceflight, finance, encryption? It was boring, but it moved the frontier of what humans could attempt. I'm in that same family. Not the hero of the story, but the infrastructure behind new possibilities.
In association with Blue Machines,
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the chase, hot on the chase of this vessel for about 2 weeks, which shows that it was completely tracked, and both the sides were aware, because even in the case of the Russians, a submarine was closely following or shadowing this tanker which was carrying oil for Russia. Now, it's interesting why Russia, which itself has so much of energy, needs this oil from Venezuela, and that's where the whole geopolitics comes into play. Because remember, post the capture, abduction, kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, by the United States, the US has been building, President Trump himself leading from the front, a scenario where they want to really grab Greenland from Denmark. And so they really want to show that the security of North Atlantic is compromised and they need to be there, and that's why they need Greenland. So maybe it's because of that, we don't know.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग स्टिक भी बन सकती है।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा, सबका राजा और मसाला।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
The icy cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean are getting hot, and how? The United States, in an overnight operation, has seized 2 oil tankers, one in the North Atlantic near Iceland, the other one near the Caribbean Sea. The one caught or seized near Iceland is Russia flagged, and the one that's caught near the Caribbean Sea was apparently a shadow tanker, a dark tanker carrying Venezuelan oil to China. Now, both the tankers were carrying Venezuelan oil, which is sanctioned by the United States. There is an embargo. It's interesting and a little curious how the 2 tankers could leave such heavily guarded waters, which are guarded both by the US Coast Guard and the US Navy, and reach this far. In fact, in the case of the merchant vessel Marinera, which is Russia flagged and was caught near Iceland by the US Navy with help from the United Kingdom Navy, the US Navy was on the chase, hot on the chase of this vessel for about 2 weeks, which shows that it was completely tracked, and both the sides were aware, because even in the case of the Russians, a submarine was closely following or shadowing this tanker which was carrying oil for Russia. Now, it's interesting why Russia, which itself has so much of energy, needs this oil from Venezuela, and that's where the whole geopolitics comes into play. Because remember, post the capture, abduction, kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, by the United States, the US has been building, President Trump himself leading from the front, a scenario where they want to really grab Greenland from Denmark. And so they really want to show that the security of North Atlantic is compromised and they need to be there, and that's why they need Greenland. So maybe it's because of that, we don't know. But taken together, it's clear that in the case of merchant vessel Marinera and the merchant vessel Sofia, which was caught, a dark fleet caught from near Caribbean Sea, which was taking the oil to China, United States has made it amply clear, taken together all these actions, that when it comes to its neighborhood, the Western Hemisphere, the so-called Monroe or the latest Donroe doctrine, they are the boss, they are the mafioso. Because the first reaction that has come from Russia says that this is absolutely in breach of international marine law. Now, United States does not subscribe to it. There is something called UN clause, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas. The US is not a signatory to it, and that's why they sort of, wherever their navy operates, they behave as if they are a law unto themselves, even in otherwise peace operations, more so in military operations. In this case, it's interesting that these shadow fleets are or have been working for Venezuela, and in fact, not for Venezuela, but carrying Venezuelan oil, but working for the likes of China and Russia. Are we really building up to a situation where there could be a military confrontation? We don't know, because remember, in this case also, there was a Russian submarine that was closely tracking and following merchant vessel Marinera, but it did not act. It let the Americans seize the ship, and which is now being towed to British waters. And in the case of Sofia, it's being taken to the US coast, and of course, no confrontation whatsoever from China. But what is clear is that there is one set of rules for rest of the world and another rule or rules when it comes to United States. Because remember, this action by the US comes on a day when President Trump has announced that US would be purchasing about $2 billion worth of oil from Venezuela and about 30 to 50 million barrels or whatever. But there is no problem if the US takes that oil, but if the rest of the world takes it, then of course Uncle Sam gets itchy. That's coming out of this. But for how long rest of the world, specifically equivalent powers like China and Russia, are going to tolerate it is...
Haryana, a land where the soil is seasoned with the sweat of warriors. For generations, this state has been the heartbeat of India's sporting pride. But today, the story of Haryana's dominance is entering a new scientific chapter.
आपको बताना चाहूँगा कि हरियाणा स्पोर्ट्स यूनिवर्सिटी 2022 के एक्ट के तहत बनी और अप्रैल 22 में इसका एक्ट आया था और मई 2023 में इस प्रेजेंट कैंपस जो रही है सोनीपत के अंदर, इसमें ये शिफ्ट हुई। और उसके बाद 1 मार्च 2024 यानी शिफ्ट होने के 10 महीने बाद मैं इस कैंपस में आया एज वाइस चांसलर। मैं फॉर्मर पुलिस ऑफिसर हूँ, IPS ऑफिसर हूँ अशोक कुमार, और तब से मैं एज वाइस चांसलर यहाँ काम कर रहा हूँ। लगभग 22 महीने हो गए मेरे। तो एक प्रकार से नई सेटिंग है सब कुछ। तो ये जो स्कूल है इसी कैंपस में जो पिछले 53 साल से काम कर रहा है, 52 साल से, तो उसका सारा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है। एकेडमिक ब्लॉक हो, हॉस्टल्स हों, स्पोर्ट्स ग्राउंड्स हों, प्ले फील्ड्स हों, जितने भी, तो उसी को भी यूनिवर्सिटी यूज कर रही है। यूनिवर्सिटी का अपना इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी बनना है, जो उम्मीद है आने वाले 2 साल के अंदर बनेगा। अभी बनना शुरू होने वाला है। बाकी हमने जो यूनिवर्सिटी के लिए जो बाकी चीज़ें होती हैं, UGC एफिलिएशन, IU एफिलिएशन, वो सब हमने करा लिया। यहाँ के PG डिप्लोमा कोर्स को NIS के समकक्ष डिक्लेयर करवाया। हमारी कोशिश है कि क्वालिटी बनी रहे, हर बच्चा सुबह 2 घंटे, शाम को 2 घंटे खेले और बीच में पढ़ाई करे। तो स्पोर्ट्स और पढ़ाई दोनों को मिला करके हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि खेल खेल में यानी डिग्री हो जाए। जो बच्चे थे जो इंटरनेशनल खेलते थे, उनको पढ़ने को नहीं मिलता था तो उनकी पढ़ाई छूट जाती थी। तो पेरेंट्स को लगता था कि ये बच्चे पढ़ाई नहीं कर पाएंगे तो आगे फिर इनका आधा छूट जाएगा। तो ऐसे में बहुत सारे पेरेंट्स बच्चों को स्पोर्ट्स से निकाल लेते हैं।
Welcome to the Sports University of Haryana, a powerhouse designed not just to produce players, but to engineer champions.
यहाँ पे स्पोर्ट्स यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ हरियाणा में डिप्लोमा चलता है इसका 1 ईयर का। तो यहाँ का जो इन्वायरमेंट है, स्टेडियम है, ग्राउंड है, कबड्डी वैसे देसी गांव का गेम है, मिट्टी से जुड़ा हुआ, लेकिन आजकल कबड्डी काफ़ी चेंज हो गई है, नेट पे आ गई है, स्पीड की और साइंस की इसमें बहुत, खाने पीने की, न्यूट्रिशन की, वो चीज़ें हमारे को यहाँ पे पता इतना हमारे उस टाइम वो नहीं था, बट यहाँ पे जो नॉलेज आ रही है, एक तो मैं जाऊँगा अपने आज का जो कबड्डी चल रही है उस हिसाब से बच्चों को तैयार करूँगा। और दूसरी चीज़ मेरे लिए भी आर्मी में आगे जैसे हमारी रेड ग्रीन है, नूड बोलते हैं, उसमें या आगे और कोचिंग लाइन में अपना प्रो कबड्डी वगैरह में काफ़ी ऑप्शन आपके पास हो सकते हैं क्योंकि डिप्लोमा कंपलसरी है।
This isn't just a university. It is India's first state government initiative dedicated to the absolute mastery of sport. Located in the heart of the sporting belt, it serves as the bridge between raw village talent and the global podium. Here, the traditional spirit of Dhakad, Haryana meets the precision of modern science.
मैंने प्रो कबड्डी में 3 सीजन खेले हैं पटना पायरेट्स टीम से, प्रो कबड्डी का प्लेयर रहा हूँ। उसके बाद हमने ऑल इंडिया पुलिस डिपार्टमेंट नेशनल और नेशनल्स दिल्ली से खेले हैं। इसके बाद ऑल इंडिया पुलिस में गोल्ड मेडल और जॉब लगने से पहले मैं ऑल इंडिया यूनिवर्सिटी सिल्वर मेडल भी रहा हूँ। मेरी 12 साल की जॉब हो गई है। उसके बाद ITBP ने मेरे को योग्यता के अनुसार, योग्यता से मेरे को यहाँ पे भेजने के लिए चुना गया। उसके बाद मैंने राय यूनिवर्सिटी का फॉर्म भरा जिसमें डिप्लोमा कोर्स करने के लिए। उसके बाद हमारा इंटरव्यू हुआ, ट्रायल हुई और फिजिकली टेस्ट हुआ जिसमें मैं पास करके यहाँ पे एडमिशन किया। कबड्डी को लेकर सर आज के दिन बहुत, ये सर एक देसी खेल था और इसमें सुविधाएं बहुत ज़्यादा दे रहे हैं, जैसे इक्विपमेंट हो गए, मैट हो गया, और वैसे हमारे को आज के दिन स्ट्रेंथ कंडीशनिंग के बारे में बहुत ज़्यादा नॉलेज दी जा रही है और उसके इक्विपमेंट भी हमारे को अच्छे दिए जा रहे हैं यूनिवर्सिटी की तरफ से, और अच्छे कोच जो हमारे को अच्छे से अच्छे सिखलाई दे रहे हैं।
This is where the revolution begins. In the present day, talent alone is no longer enough. To win a fraction of a second, you need the support of a laboratory. At this university, sports science is the foundation. Students are currently enrolled in specialized degrees like BSc in sports science and Masters in physical education, where they decode the physics of a punch and the biology of endurance.
ये जो आप रिंग देख रहे हो ये स्टिंग है, तो स्टिंग वर्ल्ड बॉक्सिंग अप्रूव्ड है, तो यहाँ पे सबसे अच्छा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है जैसा आप बात करेंगे। दूसरी हम कोचिंग की बात करते हैं तो हमारे यहाँ पे 3 कोचिंग स्टाफ है मेरे साथ, एक संदीप लाखी हैं और एक मंजू दलाल हैं, तो ऐसे करके 3 लोगों का कोचिंग स्टाफ है। तो एज ऑफ नाउ हमारे पास 20 डिप्लोमा ट्रेनीज हैं जिनका भी फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर का एग्जाम है, उसके बाद वो सेकंड सेमेस्टर कंप्लीट करेंगे और उसके बाद वो अलग अलग जगह पे जाएंगे। जैसे कुछ लोग हैं जिनकी खुद की अकेडमीज हैं, कुछ लोग हैं जो साई में एम्प्लॉयड होंगे, कुछ लोग हैं जो और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट जॉब्स में एम्प्लॉयड होंगे। तो वहाँ पे इनका जो मेन काम है वो ये कि जो साइंटिफिक नॉलेज है उसको बॉक्सिंग के साथ कैसे इंटीग्रेट किया जाए और उसके बाद कैसे हम, क्योंकि उज़्बेकिस्तान एक छोटा सा कंट्री है और आप ओलंपिक्स में देखोगे उनके 5 गोल्ड मेडल हैं बॉक्सिंग में, हमारा इतना बड़ा देश 150 करोड़ का, तो हमारा एक भी ओलंपिक गोल्ड मेडल क्यों नहीं आ रहा बॉक्सिंग में। तो बेसिकली हम इसी मुहिम पे काम कर रहे हैं कि कैसे उस साइंस को इंटीग्रेट करें गेम के साथ, कोचिंग के साथ, टेक्निक के साथ, टैक्टिक्स के साथ, और कैसे हम इंडिया को स्पोर्ट्स पावर हाउस बनाएं। तो ये सारे बच्चे इसी चीज़ में लगे हुए, एक बड़ा मिशन है।
The focus here is on the future through advanced research in sports psychology, nutrition, and strength and conditioning. The university is building an ecosystem where injuries are prevented by data and performance is optimized by technology. They aren't just training for the next tournament. They are preparing a roadmap for Mission Olympic 2036, ensuring that Indian athletes have the same scientific edge as the world's best.
ये सुबह जैसे सर्दियों के मौसम में 7 बजे असेंबली होती है, सबकी एक साथ इकट्ठी गिनती होती है। उसके बाद सभी प्लेयरों को अपने अपने फील्ड में चले जाते हैं। वह 7 से 9:30 बजे तक हमारा मतलब फिजिकल फिटनेस के लिए, गेम के लिए अलग शेड्यूल है। उसके बाद आधा पौना घंटा नाश्ता के लिए मिलता है। 10 बजे से हमारी कंटिन्यू 1 बजे तक क्लास होती है। 1 बजे क्लास छूटने के बाद खाना होता है। खाने के बाद फिर 4 बजे से फिर दोबारा ग्राउंड पे आ रहे हैं।
Step onto the turf and you feel the rhythmic pulse of Haryana's favorite team sport. Hockey is more than a game here. It's an inheritance. The university's state-of-the-art turf allows athletes to train on world-class surfaces that meet the highest international standards. Ensuring they are prepared for the most prestigious global stages.
हरियाणा हर गेमों का एक हब है और उसमें कुश्ती एक सबसे मुख्य गेम है जो जिसमें कि हरियाणा सबसे अच्छा परफॉर्म करता है, चाहे वो नेशनल लेवल है, चाहे इंटरनेशनल लेवल, चाहे वो ओलंपिक लेवल का है। राइस स्पोर्ट्स यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर रेसलिंग का अब आज के टाइम में सबसे बड़ा डिप्लोमा रेसलिंग का ही चला हुआ है, जिसमें 44 बच्चे हैं और काफ़ी अच्छा कर रहे हैं। पहले स्कूल में भी रेसलिंग नहीं थी, लेकिन अब मेरे आने के बाद जैसे जैसे मैंने बात भी करी और हमारे वीसी सर ने बड़ा इंटरेस्ट ले रहे हैं स्पोर्ट्स को लेकर के और बहुत ही अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं यूनिवर्सिटी में भी और हर स्पोर्ट्स को देख रहे हैं वो। तो उन्होंने अभी स्कूल को भी इन्वॉल्व कर दिया है कि भाई स्कूल के बच्चे भी अभी यहाँ पे रेसलिंग स्टार्ट की और काफ़ी अच्छा यहाँ पे माहौल है रेसलिंग का। तो उम्मीद है कि यूनिवर्सिटी के बच्चे और स्कूल के बच्चे मिलकर करके काफ़ी अच्छा देश का और यूनिवर्सिटी का तो नाम करेंगे ही करेंगे, लेकिन देश का भी नाम रोशन करेंगे।
The current focus is on tactical speed. Coaches are being trained to implement modern formations, ensuring that the legacy of the national game stays safe in Haryana's hands. Every practice session under these floodlights is a step toward reclaiming global dominance. In the combat halls, the atmosphere is electric. We see the rising popularity of judo and taekwondo, disciplines where balance and explosive power are key.
taekwondo गेम जो है ये कोरिया गेम है। सबसे पहले ये कोरिया ने स्टार्ट करा था। इसका ओरिजिन सब कुछ कोरिया से ही है। जो इसकी बेसिक किक्स है, ब्लॉक्स है, वो सारे कोरियन लैंग्वेज, इसमें मेन कोरियन लैंग्वेज यूज होती है। हमारे इंग्लिश में तो चलो बाद में इसको कन्वर्ट किया गया, बट मेन बेसिक इसमें कोरियन लैंग्वेज ही यूज होती है। हर एक नाम इसका कोरियन में, काउंटिंग भी इसकी कोरियन लैंग्वेज में होती है। हमें एक एक चीज़ जो भी हम किसी को बता रहे हैं, जो हमें कोच प्रोवाइड कर रहा है, तो वो कोरियन लैंग्वेज में ही हमें बताता है, ताकि हमें फ्यूचर में कोई दिक्कत ना हो। वैसे कहीं पे अगर हम कोचिंग देने जा रहे हैं, जहाँ कोई टीम लेके जा रहे हैं, उस यहाँ पे ये भी चीज़ हमें बताइए बहुत अच्छा, कि अगर कभी हमें टूर्नामेंट ऑर्गेनाइज करवाना हो तो कैसे उसको कंडक्ट करवाना है, ये भी चीज़ें हमें बहुत अच्छे से यहाँ पे कोच ने बताया है। पहले की ताइक्वांडो में 2 इवेंट होते हैं, एक तो होता है क्योरगी, एक होता है पुमसे। क्योरगी में फाइट होती है एक दूसरे, और उसमें वेट कैटेगरी और एज और जेंडर के हिसाब से ही फाइट होती है। गर्ल्स का गर्ल्स के साथ होगा, बॉयज़ का बॉयज़ के साथ होगा। और जो पुमसे है उसमें हम जो बॉयज़ है और गर्ल्स है अलग अलग भी पुमसे प्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं, और पेयर एक लड़का एक लड़की भी कर सकते हैं। और एक टीम होता है जिसमें 3 ही लड़कियाँ या 3 ही लड़के ही इसको परफॉर्म कर सकते हैं। ये इसके इवेंट होते हैं, अलग अलग इवेंट के अलग अलग कुछ रूल्स रेगुलेशंस होते हैं, उसके अकॉर्डिंग हम इसको परफॉर्म करते हैं।
But there is also a newer sound, the sharp clink of steel. Fencing is a priority here.